You've been with Gerharz Equipment for over almost 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
So was a customer of ours for a long time and then joined us. So give me a little background on what you were doing before you joined Gerharz Equipment.
So I've been a chef for 30 years, actually longer if you count growing up in the restaurant business. My uncle was a chef, went to Johnson Wales University, started my career at the Inn at Little Washington in the early 90s. Ended up in central New York after being in Baltimore and running a few places. I helped open Rosalie's Cucina, I think 26 years ago, which was an amazing experience. Spent 11 years at the Aurora Inn on Cuba Lake. Had a butcher shop in Manlius. Helped open that and run that, and ended up here. Really was interested in the restaurant design end of things and putting my brain to work in other areas, and it's been a great fit. It's been awesome. What's amazing is we help so many more customers. Typically, you're used to focusing on your restaurant or your project or your how to develop your business, and every day we help hundreds of customers. Figure things out, solve problems, and run operations more efficiently. It's been great.
How'd you get with Rosalie's from Baltimore? What was the connection?
It's just networking. Bob Fass, who was the opening executive chef at Rosalie's, he and I worked together at the Inn at Little Washington. He's from Auburn. He was a chef at the Lincoln House before that. So we worked together for almost 3 years at the Inn at Little Washington. He came back to Central New York. I was in Michigan on a contract job. My job was ending. He needed help opening a new restaurant. I came out here for the summer and loved Skinny Atlas. Bob actually went back to the Inn at Little Washington, 3 months later or 4 or 5 months later after we opened Rosalie's, and they were like, hey, do you want to take over executive chef? I was like, absolutely. I love it here. So like I said, I got married, had children. They were both headed off to college. Spent most of my life here.
I think that's what's so great, about Central New York is we did Rosalie, so you worked with us. Your very first project came to Central New York.
First time I met
with
Dick was there, yeah, absolutely.
And the reason we were doing it is because we did business with Dave Delastrito from Curly's.
Correct.
And we had been doing business with him for years, and he was best friends with Phil Romano, the legendary restaurateur. And he was a native of Auburn and wanted to come back because it's such a great place, and Skinny Atlas is such a great place. So I love how in Central New York people leave, but they always realize, boy, the grass wasn't necessarily greener someplace else.
Right,
the grass is pretty green in Central New York. So I'm glad you're one of those natives that came and stayed instead of one of those natives who left and then eventually realized it. So that's pretty great. I'm glad that you were here. So clearly, pretty good background. Did you mention Wells College too?
So when I was at the Aurora Inn, we also ran the commissary for Wells College there. I mean, at that time, the Aurora Inn was owned by Wells College. It is no longer. But at that time, we ran the commissary at Wells College as well. Developed programming for doing catering business up there also. So it was very integrated in the day-to-day business.
Yeah, that's great. So that was Pleasant Rowland, right, of the American Girl Doll Company?
Yep.
So you had a couple legends there.
Yeah,
Phil Romano that had, what's her name again?
Pleasant Rowland.
Pleasant Rowland, yeah. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, been very fortunate.
Well, did you work closely with either one of them? Or
absolutely.
I mean,
Phil was very involved in the restaurant, especially in the beginning. What I loved about him was he would give you things to think about, but really wanted you to sort of develop the plan and really get in and figure it out and put forth your plan. Pleasant was a little bit more integral in what you did on a day-to-day basis, but she always listened to what you had to say. It always gravitated to the people that really cared about the business. It's very similar to this operation here, where you gravitate very much towards the people who want to instill and grow the business, have opinions about the way we should do things. It's always great to work with people who are excited and want to be in the nitty-gritty of the business. So I've been fortunate to work for a lot of owners that were very involved in what went on a day-to-day basis. So that's
I always say that passion, right?
Yeah.
You need passion in your life. I don't care what it is. If you're going to do it right.
Right.
Or move on,
right.
You know what I mean? And so I'm a firm believer. If life's going to give you lemons, not that I'm saying that anything we've done is lemons, but make lemonade out of it, right?
Yeah.
Do your best, be part of the solution, be part of the team.
And we've been talking a lot about that, this whole situation that we're in with the COVID-19. we need to look at as opportunity. We need to instill in people, what's going to be the next step? How are we going to make this better? How are we going to embrace what's going on here and come out on the other side in a better place?
Sure. So that's what brings us here. So I've heard fine dining. I've heard college, university feeding. I'm sure there was some cash and carry snack bar operations there.
Yeah.
I know at the Inns of Aurora, Wood Pleasant, you guys did a bake shop.
Yep. We did a bar and grill, pizza shop, a village market. I ran the butcher shop in Side Hill and in Manlius. So I've certainly done a lot of different things, from a concept standpoint. I think one of the things that we saw early on as we went into the crisis we're in right now is the people who were multifaceted were able to shift gears and morph a little bit quicker when we first went in and we had shut down, and they could still continue preparing food and serving their customers.
Right.
So I think that's been really, really key. People who are not just a one-trick pony, they're the ones that were able to shift gears pretty quickly and continue to serve food. So that's been pretty positive for sure.
I thought about you the other day. I'd read an article. It was a phrase that I think's just been starting to be coined since this COVID-19, a restaurant.
Right.
So a lot of these restaurants are adding beer and wine and groceries and even toilet paper and hand sanitizer. And really, Side Hill was almost like a restaurant kind of, right? Because you had the food, you had the butcher, and you even had like some dry goods and stuff like
absolutely.
that too,
Groceries.
Right?
I think, and even look at our operation here. Like we have a parts department, and they said, "Hey, you want a boat? We'll sell you a boat." So you have to be flexible and give the customers what they need or what they want. So I think in that same instance, we've seen, Rosalie's now they've sold prepackaged. They never sold grocery type items. They have a dessert case. They sold prepackaged ground beef and chicken breasts and pasta and sauce and things of that nature.
So they started doing that since the pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, anyone who sort of says, "Hey, I can do multiple things and I can figure out another way, just one other way to sort of deliver, those goods to my customers," are the ones that are going to be successful.
Yeah.
For sure.
That goes back to that passion thing, like paying attention, asking your customers what they want, what they like. You hear me say that all the time. Did you talk to the customer? How are they doing? What are they doing differently? How are they surviving this pandemic? Because you can always find something from someone every single day who are surviving, and some are even thriving. The to-go is up really, really high. I wouldn't say thriving, but they're making the best of a difficult situation, and I always think that's great. Things work out the best for those who make the best out of the way things work out, and I think we're seeing that all the time. So what are some other things that you see might be coming up? Like what would you be doing right now if you
I certainly think that I would be paying attention to the customers in general, number one. Like where are they gravitating towards? What can I do to bring them into my establishment? And pay attention to things, like wearing masks every day, like the sanitation practices. Like how can I get them their food at a higher quality, hotter, faster? How can I do that? How can I understand, can I attract more customers by rotating my menu more often? Like thinking about what the customer wants. Certainly surveying the landscape and paying attention to what other people are doing really well, asking my customer questions like we talk about all the time. Like let's see what they really want and making sure we're satisfying those things. But most important is making sure that every single dish you put in a box that goes out that window or goes out your front door is at the best possible quality you can give someone. I think we're going to get through this and people are going to go, "I got great consistent meals from X. Every single time I went there, I'm going back. They worked really hard." I think that if they can see a clean establishment, they're like, "These guys worked really hard to provide a quality, safe environment for me, then I'm going to support them after this as well." I think they're going to see, "Hey, that was my favorite sit-down fine dining restaurant, and I couldn't go there and sit down and have fine dining, but I could get a great bottle of wine from them, sold across the counter, or I could get a dish that they packaged or streamlined just for me so I could have a little bit of that at home." All those things that, or even a restaurant that's sort of figured out a way to give you a little bit more ambiance or relationship or posted your picture on Facebook or interacted with you a little bit more, made you feel a little bit special. I mean, I think anybody who's going a little bit above and beyond and capitalizing on either their personality, their product, their location, the expedience they can give, and really keeping a relationship with their customers. I think those things are the things that are going to separate the people who survive and the people that don't. I also think that the ones that are going, hey, I've never done this before, let me figure out a better way to do this, and are finding the ways to show that they're, protecting the customer. Or I have this new, oven, or I have this new, waiting station, or I have a new way, interesting way to make sure you get your product safely. People that are being a little bit, have more ingenuity and are really thinking outside the box are going to call attention to themselves as well. Everybody always says, no single concept survives forever. We always have to be, growing and morphing and going through this sort of evolution and making sure that we're staying in touch with the times. I think people are saying, hey, maybe I was a little outdated in what I was doing and I need to sort of catch up. So those people that are really paying attention to what their customers want and the trends out there are the ones that are probably going to be more successful. You're more informed. I think the people that are taking care of their employees, and really are protecting them as well and addressing their needs and making them a part of the solution, are the other ones that are going to have big support and going to have the people to come out of this and do it well. So I think those things are all important.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch the evolution of smart operators, and it is kind of the usual suspects. The guys
Right.
and the gals who've really succeeded and offered kind of this unique, fresh concept and kind of this changing, evolving restaurant or food service operation are usually the ones who've come up with something during this
Right.
as well.
Right.
I was talking to, shout out to Three Brothers Winery. I think they're a fantastic operation out
Right.
Geneva way. And he told me that they're worried about the social distancing when they open up. So that's another thing that we obviously have to pay attention to. When we open, it's not going to be business as usual. There's
No,
going to
it's
be
not.
people wearing face masks,
Right.
and we got to stay apart, and there's limits to the amount of parties you can have.
Right.
I think it might be 10 people or something, depending on what guidance is going to come out there. So what he's going to do is he's going to put, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything for him, but he's going to put yurts, those little Scandinavian huts. He's going to put those yurts in his vineyards, and he's going to drive you out there in a tractor so your group of 10 can go hang out in
that's
the yurt.
great.
And then he's going to bring wine on tap and beer on tap out to the yurt.
That's
So you rent a
fantastic.
yurt for a day and spend it at the winery for per hour or whatever, which I thought was a fantastic idea. And he's doing pickup of wine slushies, and he had like 330 people in his parking lot picking up wine slushies that they
crazy.
ordered off the internet. And he said it was on a cold Saturday afternoon with the wind whipping. But
Right.
that's just another example. Now, obviously, he had to lay off tons of people, but he's keeping the people busy that he needed to maintain and have on there, and he's keeping engaged with his customers, and I'm sure it's fun to go there
Sure.
and do that thing and get out and some beautiful scenery. And
Yeah, it's a great way to think outside the
It's a
box and
great-
capitalize on what you already have.
great idea. And I
Right.
love the idea of kind of fine-tuning your menu for what travels well,
Right.
right? So if you're going to put out this to-go meal, because it was your signature dish when you were a sit-down restaurant, but
Right.
it's terrible when it gets
Right.
home. So I really like the operators that are really paying attention to the food they're putting into the containers and the containers
Containers are-
themselves, which
right.
is one of the things that
Right.
we've really been studying.
Sure.
Before this thing happened, we had some experts in here from the paper industry telling us what's the right thing for the right type of food. We've been getting into those security stickers,
Sure.
which I think is really important.
Yeah, really
You got
important.
these third-party delivery guys. You want to make sure that food was, touched as little as possible,
Sure.
and that these security stickers were on there. So that's one of the things that we've been doing around here is really paying attention to what the operators will need going forward. And we love those operators that are paying attention to what they need, and then
Right.
they inform us of what's going on. So I agree with you that evolution, that multifaceted, that flexibility is just a really smart way to kind of evolve and switch gears when you need to switch gears. So I do think that people are going to come out of this. I think they're going to come, the ones that are succeeding are going to come out of this strong.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion of we hear about this, is it going to be this V recovery where we hit the bottom and then we just go shooting up, or is it going to kind of be this W recovery? My concern is, what happens come next fall?
Right.
Are we going to be plunged right into this if there's no vaccine? What should restaurants be doing now? Like, I think they should caution themselves. Let's not run back, be business as usual, and not be prepared next time.
Right.
We've all been scrambling now because no one saw this coming. But we might see this coming again, and how are we going to be prepared for that? So what do you think about the second time?
I think we've sort of talked about this a little bit, is that I think we've learned a lot of lessons. I think we need to understand that these thought processes about food safety and, social distancing and making sure that we have the right things in place so we can continue business, maybe not shut down next time, so we have these things in place and the thought processes. I think the people that are going, okay, who sort of calm down a little bit and go, okay, I understand the situation. I've adjusted a little bit. We can do this. We can figure out a way to work this into our day-to-day and be prepared to do this again or continue some of these practices moving forward. And maybe we need to do and add some things to our day-to-day regular routines and our regular processes that are going to help us continue to attract the customers, even if we get back into more of a shutdown situation again. So we're a little bit more prepared so we can just shift gears. It's like if you have a veranda somewhere but you have a retractable awning. If it starts to rain in the middle of the afternoon when it's beautiful sunshine out, you can put your awning out and people don't have to get up from their tables and run inside. So it's sort of the same sort of thing. Think about what we have to have in place so we can shift gears pretty quickly if we end up back in this situation again. Or, as you and I think this is going to happen a little bit, we're going to open slower, and it's going to be quite some time. People who go into restaurants, like for fast casual or for pizza or something like that, they're going to be expecting the people that they deal with at the counter all the time are probably going to be wearing gloves, probably going to be wearing masks, probably still have a shield, and are going to realize that maybe some of these practices were good even before we did this, just for general, sanitation and, mixing germs and public safety in general. So I think we're going to learn that, maybe some of these things that we put in place now are still going to be good for us in the future, and people are going to be attracted to the customers that are making sure that they're continuing these practices, I think. So I believe that the ones that are saying, hey, I can adjust to this, we've sort of seen a change and we're going to continue with some of these practices and maybe eliminate some things that aren't, satisfying those needs for customers, and focusing on the things that do.
Yes, evaluation and self-assessment. I say that all the time, right? I think we have a Zoom meeting. We've got like 20 people working from their homes, right? We have a Zoom meeting this afternoon.
Right.
We've given assignments that says, okay, guys, what have you studied? What's the next trend? What do we got to pay attention to? And we're expecting each one of those team members to give us a kind of evaluation and they think what's happening. So it's always important to ask your teammates, your members on the front line, so to speak, what it is that the customers are doing. And I think the restaurant operators that are doing that are going to succeed and get through this and be pretty strong on the other side.
Yeah, preparedness, flexibility, hiring the right people and make sure that you're getting good feedback from a team standpoint, and then assessing your customers and what they want. I think the people that do that and try to provide those quality services are the ones that are going to do really well once we're done with this, for sure.